Good morning, Unity community. I'm your host, Shirley Thompson, and today it's my pleasure to welcome you here at Unity Center in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. We warmly welcome all people, all faiths, and all lifestyles. Today we stand upon the unceded territory and ancestral lands of the Musqueam Nation, noble guardians of these lands since time immemorial. And it's here that we gather to learn, grow, and celebrate our oneness in spirit. If you're joining us on Zoom or YouTube, welcome. Our mission here at Unity is simple: to build personal and community well-being through universal spiritual teachings and practices. So let's get to it. Please now join me in our opening invocation. All together now. There is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. And now it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce today's speaker, Reverend Rhona Segarra. She's been the minister at Unity of New Westminster since her ordination in 2019. Rhona is passionate about people and relationships. Her focus is to share practical, empowering ideas that will add to the joy and peace of our lives and the lives of those around us. Rhona's mission is to fill the world with love, one moment at a time. Please join me in giving a big Unity welcome to Reverend Rhona Segarra.
Thank you, Shirley. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me grab my one. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be back here at Unity in Vancouver and to see familiar faces. It's a real blessing to be able to come back periodically and see people who are starting to become friends. So delighted to be here. Have you ever had something that absolutely rocked your world in a horrible way? A phone call, a diagnosis, the dreaded, we need to talk. Have you ever had something that absolutely knocked you flat? Of course you have. Because you're human, and it's part of our human condition. A few weeks ago, actually it's 2 months ago now, I had one of those phone calls. I can't believe it's been 2 whole months. It turns out that my sister, I'm the oldest of 5, my sister, who is 14 months my junior, may have messed up on her medication. We don't actually know what happened, but she passed away. Peacefully and completely unexpectedly. If there was a good news part to this, it would be that we had just the week before come back from a siblings trip, which my mom had wanted us to go on. And so we had gone on a cruise to Hawaii, and my sister Tracy, who was like, her first reaction was always, no, not going. She said yes. And so we have now this beautiful bucket of memories about my beloved sister who left us without warning us that she was going. And it's happened to all of us when your boat gets rocked, when life throws a wind at you that threatens to overturn everything that you've known. And you know that there was a before and an after, and there's no changing that line. The thing that helps me at times when this kind of experience happens is to go back to some of the stories that are told by Jesus or about Jesus. And it is my honest belief that we can re-look at the stories of Jesus and about Jesus and look at them from a way that is dogma-free and still find wisdom in them, which is the beauty of how we look at things at Unity. And what came to mind for me was the story about Jesus calming the storm. It's found in the book of Mark, chapter 4, and beginning at verse 35. And I'll read you the story as it's told. It's actually told in, I think, 3 out of the 4 Gospels. But here's the one that I like. So that's the one you're getting. Jesus stills the storm. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great gale arose, and the waves beat into the boat so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke Jesus up, and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Jesus woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" So what we see is experienced fishermen, used to being on the water, used to being exposed to the conditions on the Sea of Galilee. And they're in the boat, merrily doing their thing, going from one side of their journey to another side of their journey, and a storm pops up. And it's not just like a regular, the traffic is a little heavy today, or there's a long lineup at the grocery store. It's a phone call moment. We're gonna die. There is something awful that is happening to us. And so the experienced fishermen, are panicking. And in contrast, we see Jesus, the story of Jesus. And it's clear in this story that not only is he just sleeping in the back of the boat, but they talk about that he's sleeping with a pillow under his head. Like, where do they come up with this much detail? And what does it say? Just pause with that idea for a moment, that experienced people are panicking, and there's Jesus asleep like a baby in the back. What does it say for us? Well, wouldn't we want to be more like the Jesus person, who, knowing that the storm is happening, is calm enough to remain centered enough that they can continue to rest in the back of the boat? Jesus is having this lovely nap, trusting that they're going to get through this. It's uncomfortable. It's not going to be fatal. And eventually, they wake him up. The disciples wake him up. And traditionally, we hear this story as the disciples waking Jesus up as a way for us to say, have faith, everything will work out. And that's true. Having faith, everything will work out is absolutely true. But we can learn from this story, because it's not about the idea that there will not be storms. Part of our human condition is we will have storms. It's more to do with who will we be and how will we be when the storms arrive. Will we panic, or will we remain calm? And today I want to share 3 ideas for this story, or from this story, that has helped me and I hope will help you in navigating this journey. The first thing that we saw with the action of the disciples is their acknowledgement that this was a big one. They acknowledged the storm. The hardest thing that we do, hardest thing that humans do, not hardest thing, the first thing that we do when a storm hits us is we deny it. Oh, it's not going to be so bad. Oh, that can't be true. Oh, that's not really happening. But to get to the point where we can go, oh, yeah, this is happening. This is true for me. That step of acknowledging that there is something big happening is an important one. They say that in the 5 stages of grief, the first stage is denial. So the truth of acknowledging that this is something big is an important step towards healing. So think of the request for a divorce, or you no longer have a job, or any one of thousands of incidents that we have in our lives. And our first instinct is to go, I'm going to be okay. It's not that big. And we deny, depress, we suppress the fact that this is scary stuff. This is painful stuff. This hurts. And of course, when we do that, when we deny that we're feeling the things that we're feeling, it leads to more suffering for us. When we fight against reality, we suffer. The author Byron Katie writes, "When you argue with reality, you lose only 100% of the time." The disciples did not pretend that everything was okay. They did not spiritually bypass the situation. They didn't think to themselves, oh, well, Jesus is in the boat. Oh, everything is okay. How often do we, people who are consider ourselves evolved and evolving spiritually, go, you know what, I'm a spiritual person, I shouldn't be feeling fear. Of course you should feel fear. It's scary. Take should out of your language and go, I am feeling fear. Acknowledge. Imagine how often in our lives we say, everything is fine, while silently we are sinking. You cannot calm a storm if you refuse to admit that you are in it. Let me say that again because it's key. You cannot calm a storm if you refuse to admit that you are in it. So the first step, inspired by the actions of the disciples, acknowledge the situation that you are in. Admit it. Then the second thing that I take from the actions of the disciples is that they allowed the action of Jesus is that they both allowed their emotions to inform. And in Jesus' case, he allowed the emotion to inform, but he didn't perform. He didn't allow fear to run the show. They admit that they're afraid. But in their panic, they go straight into drama mode. Don't you care that we're gonna die? And what does Jesus do? He takes a breath and he looks up and he does not meet their fear with fear. He does not meet their anxiety with anxiety. In every way, he actually de-escalates the situation. That's what we would say now in 21st century lingo. De-escalate. But the emotions inform that there is something to be looked at, something to be seen. And we don't need to go to the drama. We don't need to catastrophize unless we want to. And some people really like that. So, hey, that's good for them. And, we all know people like that. Whenever I think of that, I think of no drama, Obama. How it didn't matter what was going on. His goal was to not allow himself to get sucked into the drama. And there's a real reason for that. Because when we are sucked into the drama, when we meet anxiety with anxiety, we can't think. Nothing gets solved. Our brains literally are starved for oxygen and we cannot think. So, even though we're feeling fear, even though we are overwhelmed with grief, let us give ourselves some grace and ask ourselves more kindly, not, don't you know this is awful, but, oh, this is happening, and how can I be with it? And be inspired by the idea of, I can be calm. It doesn't mean that you don't care. In fact, quite the opposite. Feelings are an indication of how much you care, which is why I encourage all of us to acknowledge the pain, acknowledge the frustration, acknowledge the anger. It means you care. But it doesn't mean that you need to let that be your driver. Rather, allow it to be your informant, the thing that gives you information. So that was the second A. The first is to allow the emotion, admit the emotion. The second is the first is to admit what's happening. The second is to allow the emotion. Let it have its place. If you don't let it have its place, it will blow up. And you won't like that, because it never works well. So give it some space. And then the third is to awaken the calm within you. You know, we at Unity look at everything as if the characters and the events in a story are aspects of ourselves. And that means that there is a Jesus who is sleeping in the boat, in your boat, at all times. The boat obviously represents our lives. The storms represent what happens in our lives or what's happening in our thoughts, which can sometimes be such whirlwind, tornado-style, flooding-style thoughts that you don't even know where to begin, and it does feel like your life is going to turn upside down. And we have a Jesus in us too. That character is in us too. The character that is able to know that they can access their own power when they choose to, and we can choose to awaken it. Until then, it sleeps gently on the back of the boat. Imagine the knowledge that we have peace inside us, accessible to us. We don't need to go to an outside guru. We don't even need to come to Unity. Instead, our invitation is, as the disciples within us, which is the thoughts within us, are feeling panicked, the invitation is to waken your sleeping Jesus inside you. And then what do we see Jesus do? He stands up. And he says to them, the words are, rebuked the wind. It's like, I don't have time for you. And he goes to the storm of thoughts within us, and he says, peace, be still. And what happens? The water stills. All of those swirling thoughts and emotions we might have are calmed. So how do we do that? Well, I gave you one example today in our meditation. It is one that I really like, that was introduced to me not that long ago, and I kind of made it my own. The idea of just take a moment and get in touch with what are you tasting? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What are you seeing? We all have access to our senses all the time. Use that as a way to calm yourself down. The other one that I found really useful, and the kids love it, but maybe it's the kid in me, but it's to hold the hand up and mentally, and sometimes physically, breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And even as I'm doing this, I can feel my own body calming. And I can sense it in the room. There's something powerful about having something tangible to cling onto. Think of it as your life preserver. So think about what might calm you. And then do what the disciples did. They asked for help. They went and woke Jesus up. They didn't go, oh my God, he's had a really long day, he's too busy. I'm not going to bother him. How often do you do that in your real life? How often do you phone a friend and say, hey, I actually could use someone to talk to. Maybe it's a therapist. Maybe it's a 12-step program. Maybe it's a friend or a spouse or a sibling. Maybe it's going for a walk or singing. Find whatever it is that helps to restore you to calm. So those are some of the things that bring me comfort today. They are to recognize and acknowledge that I can't change that reality. And I accept that it's going to hurt and is hurting. And I work to allow space for those emotions. I hope you do the same. And I'm not going to add to the storm by saying, oh, I shouldn't be feeling sad. Or I shouldn't, if only. I'm sad. Allow your emotions. Awaken the calm within you. And ask for help. When the storms of life hit you, try those steps. Try to acknowledge what's happening, to admit your feelings, to awaken the Jesus within you, to ask for help. And what you will find, as the disciples found, is that you will be awed. A-W-E-D. You will be amazed at how powerfully you can transform what is a crappy experience into something that is crappy out there, but calm within you as you navigate it. That is my wish for you. That is my dream for you. The calm is always with you. And your invitation is to look at yourself and say, peace, be still. I bless you.
Thank you, Rhona. That was beautiful. This is a place where I find peace. This is a place where I find peace. This is a place where I find all things are equal, and this is a place where I find peace. This is a place where I find strength. This is a place where I find strength. This is a place where I find courage immeasurable. This is a place where I find strength, where the salt meets the sand and the drifting tides land, where it's soft in the stretch of God's hand, where the time passes slow and the roses know that it's warm in the glow of the land. This is where I find peace. This is where I find peace. This is a place where I find you. This is a place where I find you. This is a place where I find hope meets fulfillment, and this is a place where I find you, where the salt meets the sand and the drifting tides land, where it's soft in the stretch of God's hand, where the time passes slow and the rosellas know that it's warm in the glow of the land, where this wide open space brings so much to this place, with my feet on the earth I stand. With my feet on this earth, it's my place, it's my birth. And it brings me back home once again. This is where I find peace. This is where I find peace. This is where I find peace. This is where I find peace.
Thank you. Let's give it up one more time for the very talented Beverly Elliott, Chris Nolan, and Bill Costin. Thank you both. Thank you all. And Rhona, I really enjoyed your talk, and I love the reminders of what we need to do to stay calm amidst chaos. And I loved. I'm going to use that one. So thank you. Oh, coming up here at Unity, join us on Wednesday, July 29th from 7 to 8:30 in the lower level for a full buck moon ceremony circle. The full buck moon is a time of illumination, inviting us to pause and recognize what has been quietly growing in our lives. Named for the season when deer lose their antlers and begin growing a new set, it reminds us that growth often unfolds gradually before it becomes visible. Together, we'll reflect on the strengths that are emerging, acknowledging how far we've come, and consider what we're willing to let go of to allow the new. Everyone is welcome. This gathering is offered by donation, and bring an item for the altar if you feel called. Join us for our Course in Miracles group every Tuesday from 12:30 to 2:30 in the lower level. Learn along like-hearted individuals as you expand awareness, and all are welcome. Your presence does enrich the circle. Reflective Roundtables is happening today after the service. Join us for a thoughtful small group conversation exploring the day's message through shared insights, deep listening, and meaningful connection in a welcoming, structured space. And just to let you know, our mastermind prayer group will be on hiatus until September. So there will be no meetings until then. Today's affirmative prayer chaplains are Barb Richards, Mike Richards, and Brian Law, with Marilyn Norrie on Zoom. Could you please stand? Brian's back there. And if you'd like to receive a confidential prayer, our chaplains will be waiting for you in the front row right here after the music. Please join us downstairs after the music for coffee, cookies, and conversation or a round table. Next Sunday, we have Reverend Thomas DeShooter back to share the key to peace and wealth. I like that idea. Watch our website for all the details and how to tune in online if you can't make it in person next week. And now, as we bring our gathering to a close, please stand and let us say together our prayer for protection, followed by our peace song.
The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Joining us. We send our love and look forward to seeing you next week. If you're on Zoom and want to pray confidentially with a prayer chaplain in a private room, please accept your breakout invitation, which will pop up on your screen shortly. Thank you so much for joining us. See you all next week, and God bless.